Okay, Tech, are we ready? Madam Clerk, are we ready? Okay. I'm going to call to order the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners meeting for October 11th. It is now 10 a.m. We will start with a salute to the flag. Ms. Herman, would you lead us this morning?
Certainly.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, would you take us into item number 2 and give us a roll call, please?
Of course. Vaughn Hartung, Chair.
Here.
Alexis Hill, Vice Chair.
Yes.
Bob Lucy.
Here.
Katie Jung.
Present.
Jean Herman. County Manager Eric Brown.
Here.
Assistant District Attorney Nathan Edwards.
Here.
And I'm Jan Galasini, your County Clerk. Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Manager, would you take us into item number 3?
Item 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Okay. Before we go into public comment, Madam Clerk, I just want to make everyone aware that item number 20 will be pulled, which is the public hearing. That will be heard on the 25th of October. So if you're here to speak on that, you certainly can, but I just want to make sure that everyone is aware of that. Madam Clerk, would you please call public comment?
First up, we have Elise Weatherly.
Good morning, Elise Weatherly. I wanted to say thank you guys. I'm glad I've got the opportunity to come here today because, believe it or not, the hardest job I've ever done is taking care of my grandson, and I have to do that every day. So Fiesta Mexicana is right around the corner. What I wanted to tell you guys was it's a long, long road from which there is no return. While we're on the way to there, why not share? And the load doesn't weigh me down at all. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. I thought that's the song that was going on in my mind. And what I've realized is that not all men are my brothers. Do you know who my brother is? Those that actually care about me, okay? And we've got men in this community that don't care about me. So what I'm going to share with you guys, since my time is limited, years ago I had met with a couple other ladies and we did the whole girl thing and the talk and the prayer and all, discuss what we wanted, right? One of the ladies said that the Lord had spoken to her that there was a separation that was going to take place. Do you know what I did with that prophecy? The same thing I did with the Donald Trump prophecy. I didn't jump to conclusions. I didn't say, well, it's right, well, it's wrong, what can it be? First of all, I had to determine, does such a thing exist? Does God still speak to people? If he does, what is he saying? Is he saying, well, since the road is long, it's a long, long road, maybe we should do this together instead of fighting each other? But hey, what the heck, I'm just a former accountant, IT person. So what I did was, I didn't get you guys a copy, but I pulled out my 2015 calendar because 7 years ago, the medical community said, you have 4 months to live. I heard a voice say, I'll sustain you. Can I prove that? No, not right now, but I will be able to prove it eventually. I'm also going to introduce a song to a young lady at the studio this weekend what's her name? I actually have her as a Facebook friend. Is that all there is? Is that all there is? If that's all there is, let's just keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball if that's all there is. And also, people that want to stay alive forever, I kept waiting to be taken out of this messy world. And I was told, can I prove it? I have work for you to do. Eventually it's going to be shown that was God that spoke to me. When I complained to him very viciously, almost, why am I being subjected to this from these people, from this neighborhood, from Sun Valley, from Highland Ranch Homeowners Association? Why am I being subjected to that? And you know what he said? Other residents. Can I prove it? Eventually I'll be able to prove it. But in the meantime, my lesson is, if I'm doing this just for myself, I'm in the wrong. If a person runs for office just to be in it to make their own name, and not for the benefit of others, then they're going to get what they deserve. I want justice. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have Jody Baden.
Welcome, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jody Baden, and thank you for your service to the community. I know it's not an easy job, and actually, as a former school board member here, I have kind of a unique appreciation for what you do, so thank you for that. I was on the board when it was a nicer job from 2001 to 2008, and I had a different last name, Ruggiero. I recently came back to Reno from a 12-year detour to the state of Florida, and for many reasons, I'm glad I'm not there today. I feel like Rumpelstiltskin waking up in Reno. It's similar, but it's different, and I'm so glad to be here. So today, misinformation, disinformation, and outright lying have reached unprecedented proportions in our country. As elected officials yourself, you know that background checks are not required for candidates to run for office. Elected sheriffs and judges are probably the only exception to this rule. Candidates for the U.S. Senate, U.S. Congress, and even the President of the United States are not required to have background checks to run for office. Once in office, these checks are done on a need-to-know basis. However, the President is always exempt, which I find very interesting. This is a shock, absolutely, to most voters. I've talked to a lot of people about this. They cannot believe that candidates are not vetted when they file to run for office. Voters are demanding more transparency from politicians and the government, and 92% of employers require background checks for their employees. I think we all know people who could not probably pass a background check to work in a big box store, but they run for office. The Transparency in Politics Certification Program is a new, nonpartisan voter education project. Here's how it works. Candidates voluntarily order and pay for background checks on themselves, review the results, and if they feel comfortable, they are posted publicly on the Transparency in Politics website. There are no editorial comments and no additional vetting. The information is simply shared on the site, and levels of participation are listed for the candidates and races that are focused on. Candidates who participate are provided with the Transparency in Politics seal of certification. This gives voters confidence that, at least to some degree, candidates have been vetted. Now, I wouldn't say that just because someone passes a background check, they're qualified to run for office, but at a minimum, they're who they say they are. The public deserves to know who they're voting for. I'd be happy to provide you with more information, so feel free to give me a call. I'm giving a brochure and business cards to the clerk. So thank you for letting me share this information this morning. This is an effort for better government, and I hope we go forward. Thank you.
ma'am.
Next up, we have Rebecca Stemelsky, followed by Paul Stemelsky.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome.
I am a resident of South Reno, and I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the traffic issues that we have noticed since moving to Reno approximately 3 years ago. Speed limits are more of a speed suggestion in Reno, unfortunately. Living in South Reno, with the increase of traffic, the increased population, one almost takes their life in their own hands when they're out on the road. We see this on Veterans, Rio Wrangler, Steamboat, DeMonte Ranch quite frequently. The problem that I notice is very little police presence, very little police enforcement. Rarely do I see anyone stopped for speeding or any other infraction like running through red lights. Okay? I ride my bike a lot along the streets. And believe it or not, I see a lot of folks who run the red light, not the orange light. The light is entirely red. They give a cursory look and off they go. It's an accident waiting to happen, whether it's another vehicle, whether it's a bicyclist or a pedestrian. You have to be so vigilant in this town, whether you're driving, walking, or biking. Okay, that brings me to another comment. As a biker, making the transition from the street to the bike paths is rather challenging due to where the stanchions are placed. I realize you need those stanchions to prevent all the ATVers from getting onto the biking and walking paths. However, you've got to swerve out into the traffic lane in order to get a straight shot through to the bike path. Otherwise, you have to get off your bike, okay, and walk it through. So just for future development, you might want to consider placing those stanchions just a little further apart. Take your bike, try to access a bike path, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, another problem that I've noticed in Reno is street racing. The teens are having a real ball going around, racing in the streets, notifying on social media all of their friends, come on down to Reno. There's no problem racing here. Now, when we lived in a mountain state a few years back, they had the very same problem until there was some enforcement. They would tow the racer's car. They would impose a fine on them and or their parents. Then they got to pay for the towing, and they also got to pay for the storage before they got their car out of impound fee. Guess what? Street racing came to an end. It wasn't quite as much fun anymore, okay, and the parents were not very pleased with that. So I implore you to please look at increased police presence, increased ticketing, and or impounding.
Thank you, ma'am.
In the Reno area. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Paul Stamelski? Paul Stamelski? Okay, I'll
Would you
take
hand those to
them.
the clerk, sir? Before you start his time, Madam Clerk, would you pass the handout to him, please?
Hello, my name is Paul Stamelski.
Hold
I
on just a
thank you
second,
for
sir.
the opportunity of coming in today.
Sir? Sir, hold on just a second. Give us 1 minute.
Okay.
Let us get your handouts.
I want to talk to you briefly about education in Nevada. You're probably aware,
Okay.
Nevada is rated at the 40th place in the United States for education. My wife and I are retired, and since retirement, we've devoted most all of our time doing volunteer work, primarily something that's education-oriented. You may have heard or may be aware, we have tried to get a chess program going in the schools. We have found from previous experience that when children learn to play chess, and I could give you many examples, but I don't have the time, but they learn to be organized, they learn to read, they learn to pay attention, they learn strategy. It's an incredible, there's a lot of schools in the United States that have fixed programs in chess for the children. My wife and I, in volunteering in Florida, we worked with a program called Tutors for Kids, an awesome program, entirely successful. Now let's suppose for the moment that we're in Florida, which we're not, and I call and I want to talk on the phone to somebody about setting up something in education. We can do languages, or my wife can do languages, and we can do chess, and I can do math, okay? We both teach at the junior college. We have some very small classes. I don't know if they'll go this year or not, all right? But let's suppose that we're in Florida, and I call in, and I say, I want to do volunteer work. Well, guess what? The person I talk to on the phone wants to know what's it all about, and the response is, can you come in today and can you start next week? The reason I'm telling you that, and you're saying, well, we don't live in Florida, okay? Because in Reno, it's a different ballgame, let me tell you. On the handout that I gave you, there are 2 pages of emails, condensed emails, actual emails that I got from people in this city, okay? You might want to go through that. The last page that I showed you here, the first picture is a chess table that I made, and I would like to see that done, and I tried to get it into your summer school starting in April. The components for this table are all available from craft stores, okay? So there's a photo of an outdoor piece, and I tried to get that going this summer
Thank you,
for the
sir.
parks, and there was no way to,
Thank you so much.
I'd ask you to look through.
Thank you, sir.
Mark Newman, followed by Lisa Fleiner.
Morning, Commissioners.
Welcome.
Hope you're having a good day. So I was here today. I'm on our Sun Valley Citizens Advisory Board, as most of you know. Thank you for attending, Commissioner Herman. Last month, we were talking at the Spanish Springs, and Commissioner Hartung was there for the NDOT on the Pyramid Highway. And this last month, it took me 3 months to get 5 Ridges arranged to come to our Sun Valley Citizens Advisory Board. They gave a very nice presentation, and hopefully it cleans up the bottom of Highland Ranch Road, and they're going to work with NDOT on that to make that a really good intersection. Let's hope that works. And the other thing is, I spoke with you guys last month, was on the Highland Village that was going to be with no school zone on Highland Ranch Boulevard, and looking at putting in a stoplight at the 4-way intersection of Midnight and where the Highland Village Phase 1 is going to come up to allow the kids to cross the street safely. Hopefully I can hear from somebody from your staff and from Highland Village. I'm working with some of the school board. The email thing is hit and miss, as you all well know. The next thing is for our county manager over there, Mr. Brown, and I noticed that we have spent $3 million on computers, and that with Brian Mitchell through the state of Nevada, hopefully talking with some of the seniors at this different senior centers, that we can get some computers and some education going for our seniors within our community. A lot of them would love to be able to know how to navigate through a computer. It's just scary for them, and if it was available, they might be able to do something about it. And the last but final is item number 12 that you're going to be facing today. I think that's really good, and it needs to be passed. Thank you guys all for a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Lisa Fleiner, followed by Keith Hanley. It's on.
Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. My name's Lisa Fleiner. I'm a Reno resident.
Overhead, please. You stop the clock, please, Madam Clerk. Overhead, please.
It's on.
Thank you. Go ahead. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, may I have the handouts, please? Keith Hanley.
My
Welcome,
name's
sir.
Keith Hanley. I'd like my comments entered into the record for NRS codes. Thank you, Lisa. That was loud and clear. Okay, let's see. Nicholas St. John, as well as dozens of his fellow patriots, have been coming to here for better than 22 months. In that time, he has requested and moved to demanded those public hearings and town halls. We got the. Not sure if you guys know about any of this, seems like. And none of what I'm going through pertains to Jeannie Herman. She seems to be the only one that pays attention. Americans and conservative Republicans went to this event. Rhinos did not. There isn't really any way to engage with the commissioners, where we can have a dialogue. This setting in these chambers is not conducive to working with the very people who elected you to serve in this office. We deserve better. Instead, he and we have been ignored, have been recess called, had our mics cut numerous times, for the unforgivable sin of needing more than 3 minutes to present what's taken hours to research and formulate into something we underestimated your ability to understand. You could fix this, but the question is, will you? From our perspective, that the answer is probably not. We dare you to prove otherwise. Thank you for wasting our time.
Sandy Tibbet, followed by Nicholas St. John.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can I have your handout? Can I have what you put up on the board, please?
Welcome, ma'am.
Sandy Tibbet for the record.
Thank you. That'll be placed on record.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
First, I want to say I came to a special meeting back in July for the election certification, and you pulled some crap. And you went right to agenda number 5, which silenced me because I had no idea what you were doing. I didn't appreciate that very much. Not that you were going to listen to me anyway, because you didn't listen to anybody else that was in the room that day. But I didn't like being silenced. I had stuff to say that day. I don't usually come down here because I don't want to face any of you, because what I have to say lands on deaf ears, right? You all are here for your own agenda. Second, Nicholas St. John has been a voice for those of us that don't always have time to come into these chambers to exercise their First Amendment rights, or to petition lawmakers, or everything else we do. With 22 months of coming here, not once have you really listened or heard him or anybody else. Not once have you called him or requested a meeting with him to actually try to resolve any of the issues he brought to you or anybody else. That is a violation of your oath. And if you're not going to honor your oath, we demand you resign. So I really appreciate getting to waste your time today. Thank you for wasting ours.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Nicholas St. John?
Welcome, Mr. St. John.
For the record, Nicholas St. John. The pandemic has all but ended, but the actions of this board has caused a spike in homelessness, crime, closed businesses, ruined lives, destroyed children, and child suicide rates that are off the chart. It's easy to spend other people's money. You've wasted $2 million in printing ballots that sees less than a 40% return rate. And of course, you'll hide behind the "it's the law" BS. These ballots have no chain of custody and can be forged and pushed into the election system where the registrar of voters won't even allow concerned citizens to have the ability to watch the process in a way that even makes sense, nor allowed to verify the logic and the accuracy tests. Which one of you will go with Nicholas St. John to watch, question, and request verifications of a couple of scenarios? We know you won't answer, but you can take action by calling Nicholas at the number shown on the screen. Who will go with me? Vaughn? Alexis? Kitty? By the way, in item 4, you have 3 minutes. As they said before, thanks for wasting our time.
Thank you, Mr. St. John.
There's nobody else signed in.
Okay, we will close public comment. We'll bring it back to the board. Mr. Manager, would you take us into item number 4, please?
Item 4 is Commissioners' County managers' announcements, reports, and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information, and topics for future agendas.
Do you have any such items, Mr. Manager?
I do, Mr. Chair. I have two items. The first is to just provide a quick update on the progress being made with our regional EMS fire dispatch project going on between the City of Reno, City of Sparks, RIMSA, and other stakeholders in the region. I believe Commissioner Lucy asked about this at a prior meeting. So as you all recall, on July 22nd, we had a concurrent meeting with the City of Reno, City of Sparks, and Washoe Board of County Commission to discuss moving forward with this regional initiative. At that meeting, we agreed to some guiding principles in terms of what we were focused on. We agreed to a list of stakeholder organizations that would participate in the coordination of this effort. And since that time, that group has, the managers have met weekly and every other week with the stakeholder group to work on those guiding principles. I'd like to share with you today that in terms of progress, we have actually agreed amongst the stakeholders to move to a common computer-aided dispatch platform. That is one of the key structural issues that prevents us today from transferring calls as quickly and seamlessly as we need to. And we've taken the next step of actually selecting which platform we're going to use. I can't announce it publicly because we're still in negotiations with the vendor, but those two steps, I think, are significant steps forward in our efforts to get the dispatch organization cleaned up and operating more seamlessly. We also have selected a facilitator to help us, an independent facilitator to help us weed through some of the dicey issues that need to be figured out amongst the stakeholder agencies. So we're hoping to get that underway in the next week or so. Once that happens, I think you will see more rapid progress in terms of things like governance and identifying funding sources and the other elements that were agreed to in that concurrent meeting that we had on the 22nd. So if any of you have questions, I'm happy to sit with you individually. And I think when the facilitator is retained, that might be a good point to come back in front of this body and have a discussion about where we are and what the key issues are. The second item I'd like to share is just to acknowledge that we had multiple errors, unfortunately, with our sample ballots that were issued last week. And on October 5th, the errors were discovered. There were 4 of them. One was the clerk's race was left off the ballot. She is running unopposed, but the Secretary of State's determined that in accordance with NRS, the race needed to be listed on the ballot. The Libertarian candidate was left off of the race for the Assembly District 26. The Washoe County School District D race was left on the ballot, and it should have been removed. And there was a misspelled name for a candidate in Commission District 5. So honestly, these things shouldn't have happened. We understand, and I understand that in this environment, to have these kinds of errors occur on a sample ballot or any ballot is unacceptable. We did double down after the primary with assigning additional resources from around the county, certainly from my office, in the Registrar of Voters office, specifically to focus on things like proofreading of the ballots, because we've had this issue before. Certainly in the primary we had it, but that didn't seem to keep us from having the outcomes that we did. I do want to say that we do have a lot of new people in the Registrar of Voters office. About 2/3 of the staff were not there a year ago. And so that makes for a lot of inexperience in terms of the context of some of the information you're dealing with, but I don't make any excuses. These things shouldn't have happened, and we will do everything we can to prevent them from happening going forward. We now pivot, obviously, to the elections themselves and the activities at the poll. So my commitment is we'll continue to work towards it, but I did want to acknowledge and apologize for the errors that occurred on the sample ballot. Mr. Chair, that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Commissioners, I don't see anyone signed in. Is there anyone wishing to speak at this time? Okay. I actually have a couple of things. So this is something that Mr. Solero and I talked about. I know Mr. Solero is not in the audience, but we had talked about this some time ago, and that is small home-based businesses that we issue business licenses to. What I'd like to talk about is potentially abating those business license fees and encourage people to have small home businesses. Times are difficult, and there's many people out there, I think, that would take advantage of having a home-based business if they didn't have to go through, paying for a business license. It's a modicum of income for us. Mr. Solero and I talked about it. It's just not that much money for small home-based businesses. So I'd like to have this conversation and have staff bring back something to us to talk about what it would take to open that in Chapter 25. The other thing that I would like to get some information about, and I don't see Mr. Smith in the audience. I do see Mr. Giesinger, but there's a tower at the northeast corner of Sunset Springs and Pyramid, very, very large tower, and I've had numerous constituents ask me what it is. I thought it was a LiDAR tower put up by NDOT. NDOT says it is not their tower, so I'd like to know whose tower it is.
Mr. Chair, could you give me the location again?
The northeast corner of Pyramid and Sunset Springs.
Okay.
So, it's a tall tower. So everyone wants to know who put it up. I thought it was NDOT's, and I don't know, and it was kind of in conjunction with the traffic signal. And then, can staff meet with the Stamelskis about how to reach out to the school board and the city of Reno? And I want to thank them for coming out. I love this idea of chess. I think that'd be wonderful to have out in our lobby, Mr. Manager, the ability for people, they have to bring their own pieces, but have some chess boards maybe on some tables. That's a great thing. I taught my son to play chess at age 5. And then I want to thank Mr. Newman for Highland Ranch and Pyramid. I have had numerous conversations with the developer about that particular intersection. What it's going to look like, especially when they add 17,000 trips per day to that intersection. I've asked them to do a grade-separated intersection at RTC. I don't know whether we're going to get that because it's a Sparks project, but that's kind of what's going on there. And then for Mr. St. John, I know the manager has had conversations, but we're happy to have conversations again.
3 minutes, Rob.
Okay. Would you ask Mr. St. John to leave the chambers for the outburst? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. St. John. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? All right, we will move on. I'm sorry? That takes us to item number 5, proclamations.
Item 5 is proclamations. The first is 5A1, to proclaim October 11th, 2022 as National Hero Day in honor of Don Pelt. And I think Commissioner Herman is going to present this.
Yes, Ms. Herman. Is Mr. Pelt here?
Mr. Pelt is not here today,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Oopsie. This proclamation is for a very good cause. He had to put up with nagging from me mostly, but between our county manager and Chief Pels, this town of Gerlach now is covered for fire protection. And that's what this is all about. How that came about was with some awesome engineering on the part of our county manager and the willingness to work hard and get this done for the people. And that's what we are here for, always, just to get things done for our citizens. This proclamation from the Board of County Commissioners. Whereas October 8th is recognized in the United States as National Hero Day, honoring those who rise above and beyond what is expected. And whereas the actions of heroes inspire members of the community to be the best we can be, helping others in time of need and volunteering to put others before self. And whereas real-life heroes come in many forms, from first responders and members of the armed forces to teachers and friends. Heroes guide those they have touched to live by their outstanding example. And whereas on this day, Washoe County recognizes a local hero, Mr. Don Peltz, Fire Chief of the Pyramid Lake Fire and Rescue Emergency Response Team, who has gone to great lengths to improve the safety, security, and protection of those around him. And whereas Don Pelt is a rare leader, advocate, arbiter, and peacemaker between entities and people for the sole purpose of creating change for the betterment of the communities he serves. Now therefore, the Washoe County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim October 11th, 2022 as National Hero Day in honor of Don Pelt, dated this 11th day of October, 2022, and signed by our chairman of the commission, Von Hartung. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Herman, was that in the form of a motion?
It is, sir.
Okay? Okay, all
Thank
right.
you.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you so much. And sadly, we don't have anyone here to accept
I
that
know.
proclamation, but we trust that you'll get it to them or staff will get it to them.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. Okay. I'm sad that Mr. Pelt couldn't be here today, but let's move on to item 5B1, proclaim October 2022 as National Italian American Heritage and Cultural Month. Commissioner Lucy?
Mr. Chairman, would you like to vote on that last
No,
motion?
we'll do them at once.
Do them together? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take item 5 as a single item,
Perfect.
Madam Clerk. Commissioner Lucy, welcome.
Chairman, thank you. Very much appreciate the opportunity to read this proclamation for you today. I am joined this morning with Barbara Wisniewski. I knew I had to read it like 2 times. Barbara Wisniewski, and she is the president of the Sons and Daughters of Italy here for the state of Nevada. And we've met other members of the organization are joined us here today. And I got the opportunity this weekend to go down to the Italian festival and participate down there. And it's 40 years it's been going on. I've only been able to go for the last 20 or so years, but I got to tell you once again, what an amazing opportunity some of the families and some of the hardworking families, the Italian families that we're very fortunate to have here in Northern Nevada, have really founded and sculpted the way we see Northern Nevada. And if it wasn't for them and their continuous dedication to Northern Nevada, we'd have a very much a different landscape than we do today. So it brings me great honor to read this proclamation on behalf of the Italian American Heritage Month. So whereas October is National Italian American Heritage and Culture Month, and whereas Italian Americans have made significant economic and cultural contributions to our nation, from the early explorers to the millions of immigrants who arrived in the United States in the beginning of the 20th century. And whereas, along with their focus on family, faith, strong work ethic, love of country, Italian Americans are particularly proud of their outstanding representation in industry, government, medicine, academia, arts and entertainment, and literature. And whereas, for over 150 years, Northern Nevada has had an Italian-American presence, with immigrants seeking the climate similar to that of Northern Italy, where land was affordable and where jobs were plentiful, finding all of these things here within Washoe County. And whereas Italian American Heritage Culture Month honors the achievements and contributions of Italian immigrants and their descendants living in the United States. Now, therefore, the Washoe County Board of Commissioners has hereby proclaimed October 22nd as Italian American Heritage Culture Month, dated this 11th day of October 2022, signed by our chair, Von Hartung. And with that, Barbara, thank you.
Thank you.
And I would be remiss if I didn't point out that Commissioner Jung is 1.3% Italian. So just want to make sure.
Give this to Kitty and tell her
I
I
will-
expect her to fill out an application.
Perfect. Yeah, I should. So, Barbara, would you like to make some comments?
Oh, yes, thank you. First of all, thank you so much. This really means a lot to our Italian-American community here in Washoe. I know all of us feel that we have, on occasion, been kind of left out, kind of put down for all of that we feel we do. So for us to get this kind of proclamation builds us back up and makes us understand that you understand where we are coming from. You know, from the beginning in Washoe, we had Italians come in and lay the stonework for some of our buildings in downtown. One of our members, actually, her father was one of them. We've contributed so much. The Carano family, speaking of the festival, they have contributed so much to what we know as downtown, and good grief. I don't know what else to say. There's just so many things that the Italians and Italian Americans have contributed to Washoe, to Nevada, and to the country. And we appreciate any acknowledgement of this. Thank you so much.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Chairman, is it possible for us to do a quick recess for a picture with them?
Absolutely. Let's go into recess and we'll make a photograph.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to bring ourselves back to order.
Thank you so much.
And Commissioner Lucy, was that in the form of a motion?
Yes, Chairman, that was in the form of a motion.
Okay, so we had a motion by Commissioner Herman and a motion by Commissioner Lucy. For each one, we're going to take them as a whole. We're going to take item number 5 as a whole. Can I get a second for 5B1? Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do. We have 5B1. Where did it go? Nope, I guess they pulled their
Wait.
comment card.
He's coming down.
No, okay.
Item number 5. Welcome. Tell us who you are, sir, and then you can fill out a card.
Good morning, Commissioner Hartung. Reverend Augustine Jorquez, for those who don't know me. Some new faces here. And the lovely Italian ladies and gentlemen had left. I was hoping that they would be able to hear on behalf of our, as a Native American ancestry, and ironically, Commissioner Bob Lucy is also from the Tamook tribe. We do acknowledge our Italian brothers and sisters. Although was Christopher Columbus had the atrocious criminal acts against and genocidal actions towards the indigenous peoples within South America. I just want to congratulate the proclamation for our Italian brothers and sisters. I've always said it's nothing against the Italian community itself, as I enjoy a good Italian sausage as much as anyone. I was hoping that they'd be here, and just as once again as a Native American dignitary to share with them the excitement of being acknowledged. And thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, so we have motions and a second. We have taken public comment. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That takes us now, Mr. Manager, to item number 6, our consent agenda.
Item 6 are the consent items. I have no changes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. Commissioners, are there any questions on the consent agenda? Anything that you require more information or need pulled?
No, Mr. Chairman.
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
I move to approve the consent calendar.
okay. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Chairman, second with discussion if possible.
Okay, we have a motion and a second under discussion. Commissioner Lucy.
Chairman, I would be remiss if I didn't take a minute to point out that as 61 Commissioner District Funds, Commissioner Hill, or Vice Chair Hill, is going to be donating to the Downtown Reno Partnership, a T3 patroller, and a $1,500 grant to the Truckee Meadows Bike Alliance in support of the Dutch Cycling Embassy Think Bike Workshop. So I just want to point those out, continuously utilizing her district funds to benefit her community and within her district and within the county. So thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Lucy. And thank you for your support of those items, Commissioner Vice Chair Hill. So we have a motion, we have a second, we have taken discussion. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on item number 6?
There's no one signed in on any of the items.
Okay, I will close public comment, bring it back to the board. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Please affirm your votes. Thank you. Vice Chair, would you give us a block vote?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to. I suggest we block items 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Chair Hill, second by Commissioner Long.
We're joining together.
I heard you both at the same time. Okay, okay, Commissioner Jung. Under discussion, Commissioner Herman.
I just wanted to have a little bit of explanation about item 11.
Item 11. Okay, why don't we do this? Let the manager read those items in, and then we'll have some discussion. I don't know who's here from staff that can give us some information. So, Mr. Manager, would you read those in?
Item 7 is a recommendation to acknowledge receipt of change log shown in Exhibit A for the 2022-2023 assessment roll that results in a net increase of $775,194.50. Excuse me a second here. So the assessor recommends to acknowledge receipt of a change log shown in Exhibit A as outlined in the staff report. Item 8 is a community services recommendation to approve a settlement agreement between Washoe County and the Truckee Meadows Water Authority and authorize the corresponding water rights deed conveying 52.13 acre-feet of general fund water rights, value of $401,519 as outlined in the staff report. Item 10, District Attorney recommends to accept additional incentive funds for the District Attorney's Family Support Program from the State of Nevada Child Support Enforcement Program in the amount of $1,130,546.35 as outlined in the staff report. Item 11 is a Human Services Agency recommendation to accept a federal Title IX-E subgrant award from the State of Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Child and Family Services in the amount of $20,724,454, $9,544,764 in county match. For Washoe County Child Welfare Services, July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, authorize the Director of the Human Services Agency to execute the resolution for subgrant award and related documents, authorize a subgrant agreement between Washoe County and the Washoe County School District to pass through the federal funds to reimburse for actual expenses incurred to provide out-of-zone transportation for children in foster care allowed under the Social Security Act, which is estimated to be an annual cost of $450,000 for a retroactive period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, as outlined in the staff report. Item 12 is the Human Services Agency recommends to accept an FY23 Homemaker Subgrant Award from the State of Nevada Aging and Disability Services Division in the amount of $54,600 of it county match as outlined in the staff report. Item 13 is the Manager's Office recommends to community project funding from the United States Congress to the Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration in the amount of $2,335,000 with no county match to support the design and assessment, expanding the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Infirmary as outlined in the staff report. Item 14, the Manager's Office recommends to approve allocation of American Rescue Plan or ARPA funds through the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund and Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund in a total amount of $312,000 to support installment of project number 40, National Fitness Centers at Rancho San Rafael Park, South Valley's Regional Park as outlined in the staff report. Item 15 is the Manager's Office recommends to first accept 2 National Fitness 2022 Renown campaign grants of $50,000 each, totaling $100,000, $312,000 county match for the purchase and installation of 2 fitness courts, and second, approve the purchase of 2 national fitness courts in the amount of $307,000 for the purchase of 2 fitness courts to be located at Rancho San Rafael and South Valley's regional parks as outlined by the staff report. Item 16 is the manager's office recommends to approve a professional services funding agreement amendment extension per 1-year renewal between Washoe County, the cities of Reno and Sparks, the state of Nevada, Northern Nevada Adult Mental Health Services, Northern Nevada Medical Center, Renown Regional Medical Center, Renown South Meadows Medical Center, and MedTrans Causal Reno PHE doing business as WellCare Medical and Behavioral Clinic, or WellCare, engaging WellCare to oversee the operation of a 20-bed community triage center for those in need of crisis psychiatric services, medical and social detoxification from alcohol or other services, or co-occurring disorders for individuals who are 18 years of age or older and not in need of emergency room, as outlined as the staff in the staff report. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Who do we have that can answer, Commissioner? I see staff approaching. Welcome.
Good morning. Steve McBride. I'm the Division Director for Washoe County Human Services Agency. Director Howell is out ill today, so I'll do my best to fill in, although my side is the adult senior side. What I understand about this item is this is the federal portion for foster care and adoptions. And so we've been receiving it for years, and without it, we'd have to pay for all those costs out of county general fund. Beyond that, if there are more detailed questions, I'm sure Director Howell would be happy to provide a summary after the fact.
It's just that it's such a huge amount that there are people that are concerned about what's going on at the county, and they deal those questions out, and I just wanted an explanation if possible.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any other questions, Commissioner Herman?
No, I
Okay.
told
No,
him
that's
thank you.
okay. And if you'd like, we can pull that from block and vote on it separately.
I don't think it would change it much.
No, that, again, it's okay. That, if you'd like that, that's always an option, removing anything out of block. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We do. On item 9, I received an email from Helen Neff.
We're not at item 9 yet, Madam Clerk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's not part of our block vote.
Sorry.
That's okay. In the block is 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Got it.
Okay? Is there any public comment on any of those
There
items?
is none.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we'll bring it back to the board. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Vice Chair Hill, second by Commissioner Jung. We have taken discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Please affirm your votes. Okay, that takes us now back to item number 9.
Item 9 is a recommendation to initiate amendments to Washoe County Code, Chapter 25, Business Licenses, Permits, and Regulations, and Chapter 110, Development Code, to create the necessary code language to facilitate the board's policy direction regarding cannabis consumption lounges as provided during their regular meeting of September 20th, 2022. The amendments may include, but are not limited to, the establishment of definitions, standards, local limitations, permitting requirements, and fees associated with cannabis consumption lounges, as well as the resolution of discrepancies that may arise within existing Washoe County Code chapters as a result of any new code language.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Giesinger.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chad Giesinger, Planning Manager for the Community Services Department. For the record, I do not have a formal presentation for you today on this item, but I am available to answer any questions you may have. And I would also like to point out that you may provide additional direction to staff regarding the drafting of this ordinance language, should you choose to do that today upon initiating these amendments. And with that, I'll turn it over to the board. for your discussion.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Giesinger? Okay. I have a question for you. I don't see anyone signed in here yet. What are we going to do in terms of public outreach?
So at the September 20th meeting, I did inquire about a public outreach process, and I did not receive a whole lot of direction. Other than that, we wanted to expedite these code amendments. Our most basic public outreach process involves what we call an all-cab meeting, and we do this for all development code amendments. Since development code amendment affects the entire county, it's not feasible to really go to every cab, so we hold one centralized meeting to get input from the cabs. Other than that, it's open for discussion. If the board would like to provide further direction on the desired public outreach process, more than happy to hear that. But at the moment, that's our current plan, is just to hold that one all-cab meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Jung.
Mr. Giesinger, or Geisinger, I'm not sure.
Giesinger.
Giesinger. When we permit a restaurant or bar or anything like that, do we also go out to all cab meetings? Liquor license?
Commissioner Jung, to answer your question, the all-cab meeting is in reference to amending the code. So the issuance of a business or a liquor license is not an amendment of the code.
Oh, it already exists in the code?
Yes,
So you wouldn't have to do it? Okay.
So correct, yeah, there's
Thank you.
no public process on that.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Okay, so when I'm still a little cloudy on this regarding cannabis consumption lounges. So what are our options? Where can they? Are you going to bring something back to us that where we define where they can be? Give me some direction.
So right now, the guidance from the state law and the Cannabis Compliance Board is the zoning aspect of this is open to local government, but the number of consumption lounges are capped at the number of existing retail dispensaries. So if you recall from the September 20th presentation, there's two types of consumption lounges authorized under law. One is a retail consumption lounge, which has to be attached or on the same parcel to an existing retail dispensary, and the other type is an independent consumption lounge, which cannot be affiliated at all with an existing retail dispensary. So those would be standalone facilities should the board choose to go that direction. So in terms of location, they're essentially going to be limited to where the existing dispensaries are for the retail side. On the independent side, it would depend on the site selection of the applicant and where they're allowed by zoning, and that would be established under the amendments we would bring forward to Chapter 110 of the Land Use Code. Right now, all cannabis uses are limited to the commercial and industrial zones and have been since the inception of the original ordinances. So that would be the first cut. They would have to have the zoning, and then the second layer, of course, they can't be located within a certain distance of schools and churches. There's certain location criteria at the board, or I mean at the state level, and it's also in Chapter 25. So does that adequately answer your question, Commissioner?
Okay. So we have how many? I'm trying to count them in my head. Do we have six facilities?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, there's one in Spanish Springs, one in Incline.
Yes.
Yeah, one in North Valley, Lemon Valley,
Yes.
Washoe Valley.
And then 2 in Sun Valley.
And 2 in Sun Valley, correct. On Sun Valley Boulevard. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so we have 6 total possibilities. So if it was, so that's attached. If it was standalone, what's the possible number?
Equal to the number of retail dispensaries.
So we
6.
could still have 6
Yeah, so you could
standalone.
have 6 attached and 6 independent.
Okay.
For a total of 12 if that were to play out.
Okay. Commissioner Jung, have you signed in again?
Yeah, I'd just like to state for the record, this Board of Commissioners had actually voted for me to be the champion for the cannabis, and I could have answered all these questions of any of the commissioners since you did put me as the subject matter expert of that. Just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Yes.
Thanks,
Mr.
sir.
Lucy.
Mr. Geisinger, for the record, and Commissioner Jung is correct, we did appoint her as the leader, so to speak, the commission leader for that topic when we first did the licensing in regards to that. And we did a lot of work, and she had a lot of institutional knowledge in regards to, she still does, about that, how we went through the placements and where those should go and how those should be licensed and the security and whatnot. So I would hope that this board continues to support that initiative. But secondly, statewide, there's only 20 applications, correct, available for any consumption lounge, correct?
Commissioner Lucy, to answer your question, not entirely correct. There's going to be 20 lounges in the first round, limiting the independent consumption lounges to 20.
Nobody knows yet, so that's not it.
Yeah, so 20 statewide in the first application acceptance round, which is at the end of this month, and then those will be vetted by the state and selected through a random number generator and awarded in that fashion.
All right.
Yes.
And we don't know when the next round is, or that's not even been identified by the state?
To my knowledge, they will be opening up on an annual basis, similar to how they did the previous marijuana applications.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and is Department of Taxation is still the lead for that?
No, sir. That's Cannabis Consumption Board. It's a newly created entity within the state. It is now in charge of all things cannabis related.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jung, have you signed in again?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, I didn't mean to sign in. I'm very sorry for that.
Okay.
I took it off.
Okay, sorry. So talk to me briefly about discrepancies that may arise within Washoe County Code chapters as a result of the new code language. And maybe this is a question for legal. What might arise that we would have to amend our code?
Commissioner Hartung, to answer your question, Washoe County Code 25, the business license code, currently contains the bulk of the actual operational requirements to open a cannabis facility. And in that section of code, there's some outdated language, for example, referencing sections of NRS that no longer exist. So that would be one example. That language in the staff report, it's also usually worded in other matters properly related there too. So when you update portions of the code, often you'll have outdated references to agencies and departments and things of that nature. So it's basically a catch-all for the cleanup that would be necessary anytime you open up a section of county code that hasn't been amended in a while, and that would be the case with this.
Okay, so it would just be in chapter 25. Would it cross over into any other chapters potentially?
I don't envision chapter 110 have any conflicts arising in that chapter. We would simply be adding consumption lounges as another allowed cannabis use underneath that use type, and then creating a use definition for what they are. And so I do not believe that will create any conflicts with existing development code language.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to make it any secret at all. I'm obviously opposed to this for the simple reason that I don't like putting more impaired drivers on the road. Just that simple. And one of the things that I think that we absolutely need is it would be nice to have NDOT come in and talk to us, or at least law enforcement. I have submitted it to the clerk. It's on record of substance-involved incidents throughout the state, and marijuana-related and polysubstance-related, and any marijuana. We've had 108 fatalities through, and it's probably slightly higher now. I don't know the number. This was in August when NDOT gave RTC this report. I'm concerned. So what you do in your own home, I have no issue, but as soon as you climb behind the wheel, then I have a problem. So, Commissioner Jung.
Yeah, when we look at the poly-use data, actually, you have to dive a little bit deeper down on that when you're reading research, and 99% of all of that is the poly is the alcohol. And as always, just like filling out an illegal ballot is a felony, so is driving altered, and no matter what that substance is, and you are dangerous no matter what substance you're on when you're driving. So I will, again, squash that misinformation as the subject matter expert of this. There's so much data on this that is much more clear than what is being represented, and I'm ready to make the motion, actually.
Okay, I still would like to put something on the record.
I would like to move to initiate this amendment. Thank you.
I'm going to put something on the record, Commissioner Jung.
I'll second it and then discussion.
That's discussion.
Okay.
That's the way it works.
So, while I appreciate that, there is still no valid way to test for cannabis in someone's system. And so that's a problem for me. But we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any public comment on this, Madam Clerk?
Yes, now it's time to introduce this one. I have an email from Helen Neff that will be placed on the record.
Okay, yes, I saw that. Is there anyone wishing to speak at this time? Okay, seeing none.
Big response.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nay? Okay. Motion carries 3-2. Okay. That takes us now to item number 17, if I've done this correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
So item 17 is a recommendation to authorize Washoe County Treasurer to auction all delinquent lands held in trust for a total amount not less than the amount of the taxes, costs, penalties, and interest legally chargeable against the property, with the exception of those parcels listed in Exhibit A, and approve and execute the resolution authorizing the Washoe County Treasurer to transfer to other governmental entities, real property held in trust due to property tax delinquencies and other matters properly related thereto, listed in Exhibit A, except for APN 013-061-46.
Okay. Madam Treasurer, welcome.
Good morning, Linda Jacobs, Washoe County Treasurer for the record. And I think you had some questions for me.
Okay, so did we get in contact with this particular property owner?
We attempted to contact them. They have received over 10 they've received over 10 notices in the last 4 years, a few of them being certified. They have not gotten in contact with us. I have emailed them because I did find an email address, and no response.
Okay. So I was able to reach her brother. And the disconnect is this. Her brother, who is Don Weir, had leased that property, and when Don Weir sold his dealership, that property then essentially, she thought, because Don had always paid the taxes, she thought that Don was continuing to pay the taxes, but he has not. And so I know that we're still working on this. Give us a timeline for this, because I know that I know Washoe County would like to have this property, and I know the Regional Transportation Commission would like to have this property.
Yes. So after today, we will contact our title company, get the lot book so that I can do our research on lien holders. We will mail out our letters in December. So they have until almost the end of March 2023 to get these current.
Okay. I'll share with you offline, Mr. Weir is a personal friend. Gosh, I've known Don for a bunch of years. And that's what, raised the question for me when I saw that family name, and of course its proximity to the dealership. So I think that this is it's a matter of miscommunication. One family member thought that the other family member was paying the taxes, and you know, so because that was all part of the lease that had been established. Commissioners, what do we want to do with this? Do we want to pull this back, either for Washoe County or for RTC? What are our options, Ms.
So if you deny both applications, then I will move forward with an auction, and it would be auctioned in April of 2023 after we give them notice and
Okay.
they have the 90 days to pay.
Okay. Okay. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not want to deny the applications today. I think that we have worthy applications. I would just ask, in the future, were these sent to us, their full application of request for the properties to the board?
The full application was not. It is on the Exhibit A.
Okay, okay. So for me, I'm happy to try to proceed with a motion on these requests. And if that is what the chair would like to do at this point, or we can continue to have discussion.
Well, I just question because again, this is just a mix-up within the family. And I don't want to give either Washoe County or RTC any impression that this won't be resolved, because I think it will be resolved.
But aren't they told, Madam Treasurer, that they have to wait until March to see if these things are resolved?
That is correct. They are told that if it's redeemed, they do not get the property. So it's pending on redemption within the 90-day period that the owners get.
Okay.
I just would hate to miss this opportunity, especially for the public purposes that Washoe County is looking to provide with these properties if they are not paid. And certainly if they are paid, Mr. Chairman, we won't be looking to do any public use on those properties. But I think that's way better than an auction, so I don't want to miss this opportunity.
Okay. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item? Okay. Looking for a motion then.
I move to authorize the treasurer to auction properties except those on Exhibit A, and they're on Exhibit A 1 and 2. Those are Washoe County Community Services Department on A1, and then Exhibit A2. I would add to the motion, and then Exhibit 3, I would move for Washoe County to use APN 013061146 for development of affordable housing. Was that clear as mud? I don't know, Mr. Attorney, if you could help. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Help us out here. What's give us some direction.
Oh, give me just a second.
Washoe wants to use this person and this person. We're supposed to give direction between these two. I'm making a motion for that.
Is there no?
It's confusing. I may be reading wrong, but I'm confused.
Okay. All right, just give me a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I think recess is probably
All right.
warranted.
Let's take
Thank you.
about a 10-minute recess. We'll come back in about 10 minutes. We're in recess. We are back from recess. Vice Chair Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to revise my motion on council with the attorney's office. So sorry to confuse things, but I'm going to make a motion that as listed in the staff report, but I would like to specify that I'd like the following APNs to please go to the Washoe County. So APN 081-05023, that would be for Washoe County Community Services Department. APN 026-34138, that's Washoe County for affordable housing, and APN 013-06146, and that would be for Washoe County for development of affordable housing as well.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, so under discussion, Mr. Edwards, I agree with two pieces of this, but I don't agree with the APN 013-061-046. Although I understand why it's being listed. So, Ms. Jacobs, can you answer just a question for me? So my question is this. If we move forward with this, what it's doing is we're, for lack of a better term, we're acknowledging that we would like to have this parcel, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what we're also, and if I understand this correctly, we're saying that Washoe County wants this or the Regional Transportation Commission. So we're making the decision today that if it goes to auction, or if it goes past the point where an auction would occur, Washoe County would be in line for that property first.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. 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 And what happens if we don't approve this today? This is just, and this is where I'm a little in a quandary. Is the timeline exactly the same whether we approve this or not?
No, so the auction will be in April. The
Yes.
parcels that are going to a public entity, they have until the end of March. They still have the 90-day notice that they get. They just get a different type of letter that tells them Washoe County or whichever agency is interested in their parcel. If they don't pay by such and such date, we will transfer ownership.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question too to follow up on that?
Please, yeah, please.
And just to kind of clarify that from my perspective, what that essentially means is that the property owners that are delinquent in paying taxes get notified that they have a certain period of time to cure that delinquency. And if they don't, and then it's going to end up being transferred or auctioned, depending on what happens with this motion.
Correct.
Okay, and so they could, if they get that notice, they can come in and with a check for whatever the outstanding balance is, and they can pay that, and then that removes it from that process. Is that right?
Yes, that is
Okay,
correct.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, and I think I've asked for public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone wishing to speak on this item? Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion, Commissioners? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I think motion carries unanimously. I'm thankful that we're able to get this on the record, and hopefully we can reach out. Let's coordinate, because I've got at least some telephone numbers that could be useful for you.
So if you could get me some addresses, I do have to send out certified notices.
Okay.
So that is going to be the most helpful.
Okay, yep, understood. All right.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. That takes us now, Mr. Manager, to item number 18. I know that the clerk is going to have to give us some numbers, but take us now into it, please.
Item 18, introduction, first reading, ordinance amending Washoe County Code, Chapter 45, Public Welfare.
Okay. Madam Clerk.
This will be bill number 1883, if accepted, an ordinance amending Washoe County Code, Chapter 45, Public Welfare by adding a section defining low-income households, very low-income households, extremely low-income households, and permanent supportive housing, and by amending provisions related to the establishment and purpose of the Washoe County Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the administration of the fund, which is to be administered by the Housing and Homeless Services Division of Washoe County rather than a nonprofit contractor, the use of a fiscal agent to collect, hold, manage, and disperse fund assets, the potential funding sources and availability of monies in the fund, the use and disbursement of monies in the fund, the location of units, projects to be assisted with fund monies, and requirements for the annual evaluation, and all matters necessarily connected therewith and pertaining thereto.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you need any information? Because I see Mr. Klippenstein is in the, Klippenstein or Klippenstein? Stein, Klippenstein, I apologize. Do we need any information from staff? Okay, I'm looking for an introduction on Bill 1883.
Move to introduce and conduct a first reading of ordinance number 1883, as explained in the staff report.
Does that also include, Vice Chair, the second reading and possible adoption on October 25th, 2022?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you. That takes us now to item number 19. Mr. Manager.
Item 19 is an introduction and first reading of an ordinance pursuant to Nevada revised statutes 278.0201 through 278.0207, adopting a development agreement.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. I'm going to go out on a limb, Madam Clerk, and say this is going to be Bill number 1884.
You are correct.
Please
If
give us
introduced, this will be Bill number 1884, an ordinance pursuing to Nevada revised statutes 278.0201 through 278.0207, adopting the development agreement as required by the Warm Springs Specific Plan, WSSP, at WSSP.8.1 to utilize the regulatory zone designation specified on the Warm Springs Specific Plan, land use plan for tentative parcel map case number WTPM 22-0009, Murphy, which is a tentative parcel map dividing a 40.23 acre parcel, APN number 077-140-03, into three parcels of 30.23 acres, 5 acres, and 5 acres. In order to develop any property in the WSSP more densely and general rural, one dwelling unit per 40 acres, the specific plan requires that a development agreement be approved. Among other things, the development agreement adopts development standards for the property in conformance with the Warm Springs Specific Plan Development Standards Handbook Framework, a component of the Washoe County Master Plan, such as standards relating to use, accessory structures, building requirements, setbacks, heating and fireplaces, architecture, landscaping, fencing, lighting, utilities, and other matters concerning the development of the land. The development agreement also specifies the denser development potential available on the property, which this case would result in one residential parcel of 30.23 acres and two residential parcels of 5 acres. Finally, the development agreement provides for the participation of future property owners in any assessment district or general improvement district providing services, facilities, and/or maintenance of the specific plan area. The applicants and property owners are David and Joanna Murphy. The subject site is approximately 40.23 acres in size and is located at 1555 Shamrock Road. The assessor's parcel number is 077-14003. The master plan category is 62%, 24.94 acres, suburban residential, SR, and 38%, 15.28 acres rural. The regulatory zone is 62%, 24.94 acres, low-density suburban, LDS, and 38%, 15.28 acres, general rural.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Herman, do you have any questions on this item? Okay. Okay, hold on just a second. Do we have any public comment on this item, Madam Clerk?
We do have an email submitted by Maeve Ambrose that will be submitted for the record.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Commissioner Herman, the floor is yours. Yes, yeah, to introduce bill number 1884.
Move to introduce bill number 1884 and conduct a first reading of an ordinance pursuant to NRS 278.0201 through 278.0207, approving a development agreement as required by the Warm Springs Pacific Plan at WSSP.8.1 to utilize the regulatory zone designation specified on the Warm Springs Pacific Plan, land use plan for Murphy parcel map. Further move to schedule a public hearing for the second reading and possible adoption of the ordinance for October 25th, 2022.
Perfect. Okay, thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, for the
Yes.
record, there was no public comment for item 18.
Oh, I thought we asked for public comment and you entered in
I just needed
Maeve
to-
Ambrose.
That was for 19?
For
So for
item number
18,
18. Oh, I
right.
apologize. I thought we asked for it. I apologize. Thank you so much. Forgive me. Okay, that takes us, we have put item number 20 off until the future. So that takes us now, Madam Clerk, to item 21.
Item 21 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the commission agenda. Commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments that will be made to the commission as a whole.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment at this time?
There is none.
Okay, we will close public comment, bring it back to the board. Mr. Manager, that takes us to item number 22.
Item 22 is Commissioners, County Managers' announcements, reports and updates to include boards and commissions updates, requests for information, or topics for future agendas.
Do you have any such items, Mr. Manager?
No, Mr. Chair.
Commissioners, any such items?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, one thing I did want to bring to the board for hopefully for your information and support. Currently in Congress, there is a bill underway to be introduced to work on RS 2477 roads to do right-of-way claims. So I've got the introductory language to that, but allows the county, all Nevada counties are trying to garner some support to get this bill passed in regards to keeping public roads available to us in right-of-ways on these RS 2477 roads. So if we can, I give this to you and the manager to possibly have some support from the board on this congressional initiative. That is something that NACO is taking up and working on. So just wanted to bring that to you.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Okay. All right, we will close item number 22, and that takes us now to adjournment. Thank you. We're adjourned.